Hello and welcome to Crosstalk, where all things are considered. I'm Peter Lavelle. There was a time when Hollywood and the entertainment business used to do exactly that, entertain us. Today, there's a very different partisan reality. Now they assume their mission is to educate us and demand political conformity. With the country evenly split, is this a losing proposition? Cross-talking Hollywood and politics, I'm joined by my guest, Wendy Osefo in New York. She is a liberal commentator as well as a race and culture researcher at Johns Hopkins University. In Washington, we have Tim Black. He is a political analyst, commentator, and host of The Tim Black Show. And in Seattle, we cross to Zach Haller. He is a writer, activist, and progressive YouTuber. All right, Crosstalk rules in effect. That means you can jump in anytime you want, and I always appreciate it. Zach, I'm going to go to you first in Seattle because you got up earliest for this program, and I really very much appreciate it. You know, we're calling this program, I'm calling this program Hollywood propaganda, but as we were getting all set up to do this recording, what crossed my mind is that it should be called dog whistle, because this is what people are using all of the time. Every time Trump opens his mouth, it's a dog whistle. Every time a conservative says something, it's a dog whistle. But I would turn it on its head. I would say the Emmys, the Oscars, the CNN, MSNBC, ESPN, all of they're the dog whistles, okay? Anytime somebody says something they disagree with, then they pack on, they pile on. And this is what really, really bothers me. Your reaction, Zach, in Seattle.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, everyone is just so sick of this moralizing that's coming from the establishment. I mean, it was a losing strategy for the Democrats in 2016, trying to tell us how to vote, trying to tell us what to think. And here, the Democratic Party, the establishment, and the Hollywood entities that support them are continuing to just moralize and tell us what to think and what to do instead of providing us with information so we can make our own thoughts and decisions on our own. And, you know, everyone's just sick of it. It's just the same fatigue of the establishment and the corporate duopoly that's just keeping, you know, the public in mindless discourse instead of, you know, them actually getting involved to change the government and make the reform that we need to get out of the horrible patterns of injustice that we're in now.
Okay, Wendy, let me go to you because I'm sure you're going to disagree, and I'm very happy that you're on this program. Well, what the news outlets and organizations that I mentioned, you know, they always say that they believe in diversity, but I don't see the diversity. It's very monotone for me, and it's not very deep, actually, as well. And I find it really difficult because they seem to take on some kind of moral superiority, and then the deplorables, the rest of us. And I think that's it's very unhealthy when we have a situation like this. Go ahead, Wendy, in New York.
I find it interesting that we often talk about Hollywood as if it's just this subsect of Democrats, when that's not the case. There are conservatives who also reside in Hollywood. We have Kid Rock, who currently right now is, you know, running for office. And then we also have someone like Scott Baio. So, you know, as Americans, we have the ability, and as any citizen really, you have the ability to say what side of the political aisle you are on, and you should not be penalized for it. And if it just so happens that Hollywood happens to be more so left-leaning than, let's say, those individuals who are in the country music sector, then so be it. That is their right. We should not sit here and talk down on people who are in Hollywood because we feel as though they lean to the
Wendy,
left. There's no propaganda here.
Don't you think they talk down to the heartland, to the middle of the country? I mean, I agree. Everyone has freedom of speech. I agree with you, okay? No. But what I see coming out of the mainstream media, the corporate media, and Hollywood, and the music business, and now it's invading sports, okay? Let me go to Tim here. Again, freedom of speech, we all respect, but that speech that comes out of those news organizations and other organizations, very monotone, and I'm sorry, it's very condescending all the time. If you disagree. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. Look, I can't believe Wendy's up here defending, you know, these multi-liberals, these big studio houses in Hollywood. We know that these houses are run by liberals, and they control the groupthink. They control the groupthink. This is what they do. And if you're in Hollywood, you have to contend with that. You have to alter your message and make sure it fits in with their agenda, which is to push forth a liberal propaganda to the masses. Zach is correct. Wendy's tripping, and I believe that most people in Hollywood would agree with me. Actors, directors, they have to fall into line in order to adapt, in order to get work in Hollywood. It's reality.
Zach, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, it's interesting because everyone is still kind of recovering from not only the Great Fleecing, in which Obama transferred more wealth to the 1% than any American president in history. That's still hitting Americans really hard, and everyone's recovering from that. But also in the 2016 election, we saw an unprecedented conglomeration of the mainstream media, including the Hollywood and the Hollywood elites that were, sitting talking with Hillary Clinton at her private fundraisers. They were talking down on the entire working class. That's why, Trump was listening to the working class more than Hillary Clinton won, and that's one of the big reasons why he won. But we are still recovering from this unprecedented conglomeration of the media. Entertainment industry is involved in that. We saw that point blank, and it's, the Hollywood industry has all of the resources to be the ones feeding us the information. So of course they're not going to tell us to dissent from them and to break from the things that they're telling us to do. But that's part of what the American people are just tired of at this point, is the rich people telling us what we should think. The diversity that we need is not diversity in, race so much anymore. It's diversity in socioeconomic background. When we're looking at Oscars, Emmys, any of these award shows, where's the diversity in economic background? There is none, and that's what Hollywood needs to continue to push on us.
All right. Let's let Wendy.
Let
Wendy respond, because Wendy, one of the things that I find, and I think it's quite obvious. Okay, we heard the Emmys. Okay, I mean, it seemed to me that the Hollywood elites have not learned anything from 2016. They're still litigating that election. Everybody else has moved on except for the Democrats and Hillary Clinton. People are moving on, and Hollywood is doubling down on a message that failed. And it's going to start hitting their bottom line. People are they're not going to movies as much anymore. They're probably going to stop going to football games. I mean, this is, again, it doesn't make any logical sense to me. They're actually hurting their own material interest by the path they keep going down. Go ahead, Wendy, in New York.
No one is litigating this over again. What we're seeing here is a reflection of the polls. Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in modern presidential history. So if you are at an award show and the majority of the people do not like him and decide to use that opportunity to take digs at him, that's not because they're making it up or they're putting up some smoke and mirrors just for this award show. It's reflective of the poll numbers. People do not like Donald Trump. And to go to a comment that was made about we don't see diversity in socioeconomic status in the award shows, we should move away from diversity in race, that actually is logically flawed. How can you have diversity in socioeconomic status at the award shows when you have multimillionaires? You're giving awards to multimillionaires. So we're not looking at diversity for socioeconomic status. What we should be looking at is diversity when it comes to race, when it comes to religion, when it comes to gender. So that argument was completely false. It sounds like right here between Tim making his comment. No. It sounds like people are big babies and they're mad that Democrats have the celebrity backing and Donald Trump. No one likes him.
They are big babies and they are mad, and it's the liberals here. Let me go to Tim here. Tim, we see these big shows of rich people in their nice clothes and everything, and they're supposed to be the best of the best. I find it very mediocre and awful most of the time. But don't they have to respect their audience? I mean, they put these shows on for their audiences, presumably, or maybe they just tape them and go home and watch themselves, okay? But they have some responsibility to their audience. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter, they have a responsibility, but it's to their shareholders. It's to their egos, right? So they don't care about the average working person out there. They want to shape the narrative and paint it a direction that fits their liberal agenda. Look, I agree. Diversity, yeah, we need diversity behind the camera and in front of the camera, but that's not what's happening now, and that's what's never happened in Hollywood. If these people weren't living in a bubble, then they would understand that we have all types of people with conservative backgrounds, liberal backgrounds. It runs the gamut, but that's not what's projected. The family values of conservatives are also shared by a number of other liberals. But when you look at the narrative, when you watch TV, when you watch the movies, look, the Emmys, lowest rated Emmys in the last 4 years. I mean, what do you call that? The liberals, they don't want to call out the fact that Hillary Clinton, her new book, is just another albatross around the neck of Americans, of the Democratic Party, of the DNC. They want to get rid of it, but they can't. Why? Like I said before, it is controlled. They have to fall in line. They would love, they got a gag reflex going on right now, Peter. They don't want to accept the fact that they got to come out again and support Hillary Clinton. That's the worst deal in town. They would want to send that back.
Okay, Zach, let me go to you. I mean, again, I get this impression, with the advent of Donald Trump, we have culture wars. We've had culture wars for decades right now, but you get that impression looking at these shows here that, it's all his fault. Not that I agree with everything he says. He shoots himself in the foot all the time. His whole Alabama thing was a fiasco, in my opinion. It's something he didn't need to do. Go ahead, Zach, in Seattle.
I mean, it's just like all of this mindless blathering and making jokes about Trump is just so stressful because there are so many horrifying things about his policies that need to be, denounced in no uncertain terms. And here we have Hollywood celebrities and the political establishment taking, just jabs at him that actually do nothing to change the things that we need to change. And it's like every time these, the liberal, neoliberal talking heads are complaining about Donald Trump or, oh, Trump is awful. It's like, yeah, Trump is awful. Then why did the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton elevate Donald Trump as their campaign strategy? Why did the media give him billions in dollars of free airtime elevating this exact inflammatory and offensive rhetoric? It's like they use it for their advantage and they think that we don't understand what's going on. They think we don't read WikiLeaks. It's like, come on. We know they're trying to censor information from us. That's not going to stop us from finding the truth. Unfortunately for them, try as they might, we're still going to find it. And the harder they try to obscure the truth and facts from us, the more we're going to look for it.
Okay, on that note, we're going to go to a short break. And after our short break, we'll continue our discussion on Hollywood and politics. Stay with our team. Welcome back to Crosstalk, where all things are considered. I'm Peter Lavelle. To remind you, we're discussing Hollywood and politics. Okay, I'd like to go back to Wendy in New York. Wendy, Fred Astaire was a lifelong Republican and Gene Kelly was a lifelong Democrat. Most people don't know that. I only recently found about it, and I didn't really care before this. But now everybody has to wear everything on their sleeves. Why? They're just entertainers. That we pay them a lot of money to entertain us. Why do we have to hear about their politics all the time now? Go ahead.
So this whole narrative of just, shut up and entertain is really, perversive, and we have to stay away from it because even though they're entertainers, they're also human beings, and, most of them are tax-paying human beings, so they have a right to speak about the democratic process in our nation. And I just want to clear up a few false truths that have been spewing around this discourse. I believe it was Tim who said, the Emmys had the lowest rating this year. Yes, they did. But before that, last year was the lowest rating, and before that, 2016 was the lowest rating. So this is not about politics because last year the president that was in office wasn't Trump. It's about award shows in general having low ratings. And doubly, right now what we need to focus on,
but why do they have low ratings? But why do they have low ratings?
Hold on, this is important.
Why do they have low ratings? Because of the content.
But they had low ratings.
Because of the
content. They had low
ratings.
ratings last year. They had no, that's not true.
Well, there were liberals in Hollywood last year also.
In 2016. No. Well, how about this?
They had
how
low
about
ratings
this?
because they.
How about the fact that
because they pander.
How about Alec Baldwin won his award for making fun of Trump? How about his co-host won her award for making fun of Kellyanne Conway?
Who gave them the award?
So the same way we say people don't want to
Wendy?
see politics, that's not true.
Who voted for the award? That's a really
Emmys
good
have
point.
Award. It's not
Their
just
peers.
entertainers.
Their peers voted for it. Liberals.
And I just gave the answer.
No,
it's not. No, it's not.
They're not
It's
going
not
out to
just their
Wendy,
peers. It's not just their peers.
Wendy, they're not going out to red
states. You guys are just mad because Donald Trump has no legislative wins. If he had legislative wins.
I'm mad because everybody's mad.
If he had legislative wins.
Hang on, let me go to Tim here. Remember at the beginning of the program, nobody filibusters. Nobody filibusters. Tim, go right ahead.
Yeah, look, Wendy brings up a good point. You're right. The ratings have been down for several years. And for several years, the image has stank. And look, they're not asking regular American people to vote on these people. They didn't vote for, they didn't go to Iowa. They didn't go to Kentucky. They didn't go to Rust Belt or Pennsylvania. They didn't go to D.C. in my neighborhood, Berry Farms area, and ask these people, hey, what do you think about Alec Baldwin? Most people don't care about Alec Baldwin or his imitation. But I tell you, man, the thing with this is I have a lot of Democrat folks that follow my channel. They watch watch it. These are Hollywood actors. They watch my show with H.A. Goodman, No Sellouts, but they can't come on the show. Wendy, they can't come on the show because of the backlash they will get from the Democratic establishment, from Hollywood. These people have to eat. And for you to sit here and say that that's not the reality, that's very disingenuous. So maybe you just don't know really what's going on in Hollywood. These people really have to fall in line. So yes, you say freedom of speech, but their freedom of speech is controlled. It's controlled by the fact they have to be employed by people who say, watch what you say. You can say what you want, but it better be what I like. So there, that's what you can say, what I like you to say. And that's the reality, Wendy.
Okay, let me go to Zach here. Equal time for everyone. Zach in Seattle. True. Remember, Zach got up earliest. We all owe him a cup of coffee. Okay, you know, Zach, I want to go back to the Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly comment, because I think it's really telling. I mean, they were great entertainers, but I don't remember them for their politics. I remember for their art, real art, not like the trash we see today, okay? And I think that there's consumers, there should be some kind of consumers' rights when it comes to entertainment in many ways. And it's certainly, Hollywood isn't living up to that bill of goods right now. Go ahead, Zach in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, if a celebrity wants me to take their opinion on politics seriously, you know, come to Seattle, come tour the immigrant detention center that just got slapped with a massive lawsuit by the Washington State Attorney General for detaining people and paying them $1 a day instead of following minimum wage laws. Come look at the housing crisis. Come to one of our cities and actually look at what the problem is and show leadership in helping us address that issue. If you want me to respect your political opinion, Jennifer Lawrence, it's absolutely absurd. What you said before is absolutely correct. It was a losing strategy in 2016 for them to be moralizing and inserting themselves in our lives, trying to tell us what is best for us. It's just such an insult to the American people that we don't know how to think for ourselves, and we need entertainers to tell us how to vote and tell us what problems in our lives make a difference. It's just completely ridiculous. And having seen how the Hollywood elites, I mean, I think the breaking point really, it was kind of nice when the White Helmets won their Oscar, because we really saw how in bed Hollywood is with the Pentagon, with NSA,
I'm so
CIA.
glad you mentioned
the CIA
that.
and the government have been working to.
I'm so glad you mentioned
that. They've been working to manipulate our entertainment industry for decades. They're trying to fetishize the military to increase enrollment. They're trying to make it seem like imperialism is something to be celebrated. It's just disgusting. And as we move into a post-capitalist society, there's just going to be more people losing interest in it. Sorry, Wendy, you can defend the Emmys as much as you want, but nobody's going to care about it 5 years from now, 10 years from now. People are losing interest in money. It was never of value to begin with. And rich people have to keep telling us it matters, because that's the only way that people might think it actually does matters. But Tim and I both are out there fighting the good fight on a daily basis in spite of the unprecedented obstruction. And, you know, it's just like you can't even speak out without being told not to criticize the establishment. It's just unbelievable. And, Hollywood, if anyone in Hollywood, if any celebrity really wants to be a true hero, get on the front lines in Syria. Get on the front lines where journalists are getting killed for their art. You're doing nothing on TV or in a movie. Taking a jab at Trump, great. The media is getting paid billions of dollars to do that for free. That's nothing new.
That's a good point. Let me go to Wendy. Going after Trump is easy. I don't know why anybody thinks they can score points there. I think it's pretty primitive. I mean, Madonna, Ashley Judd, Johnny Depp. I mean, this is a kind of garbage that comes from these people. And you know what? If they had something interesting to say, I would listen to it. I'd listen to their speech. But they don't have anything interesting to say when it comes to politics. It's just bluster. And again, spitting down on their audience. Go ahead, Wendy.
So I think what Zach said that was really interesting was he said, years from now, no one will remember the Emmys. And I think that's a great point. But you know what else people will remember? The fact that Donald Trump has no legislative wins. The fact that he has tried to repeal Obamacare upwards of 4 times and has failed. The fact that his travel ban has been struck down twice. Yeah, that's what we're going to remember. So you're right. We have to start talking about the things that people will remember. And quite frankly, this president has done nothing that is memorable. Instead, he has the lowest approval rating, and he continues to call out individuals for different groups, whether they're Muslims, whether they're African-American athletes, or whether they're Gold Star families. That's what he specializes in. So until he puts a legislative win on the board, I will say we have nothing to really discuss because he has shown that all we can talk about are his blunders.
No, but this is the point. Let me go to Tim. I think I agree with Wendy, but in a completely different way. It's because we're talking about all, where the entire room is sucked out of the air is sucked out of the room to talk about these ridiculous cultural wars that doesn't really benefit anyone except for the rich and comfortable, okay? And a legislative agenda. Well, Tim, it's because of the establishment. I don't want anybody to think I'm a Republican. I'm not. A plague on their house, okay? They're not doing anything. The Democrats aren't doing anything. And the establishment media just is going along for the ride with the ratings. None of them are contributing anything positive to the average person's life right now as we speak. Go ahead, Tim.
Absolutely right. Look, when Obama was in the office, they could have been saying the same complaints that they have now about Donald Trump. I'm not a Donald Trump supporter. I just call out nonsense when I see it. If you look at all of the police shootings that have occurred, all the hashtags, Wendy, all the hashtags, Peter, all of those people died under Obama. But they weren't virtual signaling on the Emmys or the Oscars about, oh, look what Obama's done. He's making all these white officers shoot black kids. If that would have happened under Donald Trump, they would be saying it at every award show, at every opportunity. All we're saying is you can hit Donald Trump, but hit him on substance. Look, if you're going to make a Donald Trump joke, at least make it funny. I'm tired of hearing about his hair. Hollywood is staying on this cosmetic personality the issue. They're talking about his weight. Oh, come on, guys. We need to focus on the issues, and I'm all for focusing on the issues and hitting them about policy. That's what matters, and that's what matters to the American people, to Zach's point.
Zach, you want to echo that? Because, that's one of the things I say, this whole thing in Alabama, what a fiasco, what a waste of everybody's time. He went down there for a purpose and he got off, he wandered off the reservation into another one of these senseless cultural war conflicts that doesn't need to be exasperated. But it is. Go ahead, Zach. That's not a vote of confidence for Donald Trump.
And I think that, no, and Donald Trump's terrible. I mean, I swore I wasn't going to vote for him first, which is why I tried to vote for Bernie Sanders, and that obviously all went out the window. But the Democratic Party elevated him, so here we are stuck with him. And I think that the NFL drama this past weekend was a very clear kind of indication of how the media tries to spin things in order to bash Trump because they think that's good business or good ratings or something.
Yep.
It's like the Take a Knee movement is in protest to police brutality. It's not in protest to Trump. And everyone knows that. We're fighting to find justice from the top, where Hillary Clinton is skating by without, any ramifications to her crimes, all the way down to the bottom, where we have killer cops killing our brothers and sisters of color with no ramifications whatsoever. This corrupt criminal justice system, top to bottom, needs to be addressed in a real way, and bashing Trump doesn't do anything about that. And it's just absolutely absurd that anyone would think that the President of the United States is the person who's responsible for improving law enforcement and relationship with communities in Seattle, in New York, in D.C. These are local issues that need local leadership, and all the time that we spend just mindlessly bashing Trump, again, it's just endless windbagging.
Tim and Zach, it was you both against Wendy, maybe me a little bit too. So Wendy, you have the last 40 seconds on the program. I'm very pleased that you were here. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. No, I think that, Zach brings up a good point, but we have to understand that this all starts from the top. And heavy is the head that wears the crown. And whether you voted for him or not, Donald Trump wears the crown. And he has done things with his Attorney General Sessions to roll back civil liberties for individuals, even when it comes to militarizing police. And we all know that that does not help community policing. So we have to start holding him accountable. So when he tweets out and uses terms that are derogatory towards NFL players who put their bodies on the line every single day, whether it's in practice or a game, then that only divides our country further. So we have to start having honest discourse, and we have to start holding him accountable because he is the president of these United States.
We have run out of time
be held
here.
to a higher standard.
One last note. I really hope that Hollywood will make a dramatic miniseries on a family, why they voted for Donald Trump last year, because Hollywood isn't interested in it. Many thanks to my guests in Washington, New York, and in Seattle. And thanks to our viewers for watching us here at RT. See you next time. And remember, Crosstalk rules.